Good morning. It is 10:01 from the 104.5 The Zone Studios. I'm Jackson Williams. In NFL news, Netflix has announced that it will be the exclusive home to the NFL's Christmas Day slate of games for the next 3 seasons. One game for this season is reported to be the Kansas City Chiefs and the Pittsburgh Steelers. Full schedule release takes place tonight at 7 p.m. The Tennessee Vols baseball team wrapped up its midweek schedule as they defeated Belmont 10-0. Tennessee hosts South Carolina this weekend in Knoxville for its final SEC regular season series. In the NBA playoffs, the Knicks beat down the Indiana Pacers 121-91, and the Nuggets took down the Timberwolves 112-97. The Knicks and Nuggets each take a 3-2 series lead, respectively. For all your foundation repair and waterproofing needs, you need to visit USSTN.com. Breaking news at once on your home for the Titans and Vols. This is 104.5 The Zone.
Good morning. Welcome into 104.5 The Zone. We're happy to have you on this schedule release Wednesday, kids. Football. We're getting closer. We're going to have actual dates. You've had the announcement about the announcement. Today, you are finally satiated. We'll find out whether the Titans are able to build upon not just, a terrible football season and try to improve their record that way, but if they're able to improve upon an Emmy award-winning performance from the social media team last year with last year's schedule release video. Not the one that they spent all the time and money on. The one where they sent a bunch of social media people down on Broadway to interview some drunks and ended up calling the Falcons, the Red Stallions? Is that what one of the logos was?
I believe so. We have it if the people want to hear it.
Well, we will get to, that sounded very short. What do you?
I'm working back here. Good morning, buddy.
That's Jackson. Lucas is out of town for another week at this point as he continues his Italian adventures. So we'll hold it down in the meantime until 1 o'clock. 615-737-1045 is the number if you want to join the discussion. We'd be happy to have you. You also have access to the F&M Bank chat, where you can interact on Facebook, YouTube, Twitter, and on Twitch. Now, you can't live stream the show on Netflix just yet, but it sounds like you're going to have to live stream some Christmas Day broadcasts, courtesy of the NFL. Netflix making that announcement official earlier this morning. Spend some time on that here a little bit. And the schedule leaks are out there, but some of them are reported and verified. Some of them are just being done by hack accounts. And I would advise you to not get caught up in between with all the fake news that's probably going to be out there. Just wait until the schedule comes out.
If it's not a source that you normally get your news from, it's probably not real. So just if it's Schefter tweeting it out, that's different than if NFL rumor schedule leak .29 or something.
.co would have been funny there.
We tried.
Not as funny as whatever it was that I just heard to start the show. So we call these things a legal ID. Jackson, for those who are uninitiated in the radio world, what is a legal ID?
WGFX Gallatin, Nashville.
A Cumulus media station.
J.C. Latham, Peter Skoronski, Lloyd Cushenberry, and the rest of Bill Callahan's offensive line play here on your Titans radio flagship. Trending now at 104.5 The Zone.
All right, that's quite enough of that with the Laser Light Show. Are we so sad and desperate as an NFL city for offensive line play that we're running promos about the offensive line, and not just the offensive line coach? Are you kidding me?
Absolutely, we're that desperate.
I bet there's not anywhere 31 other NFL markets that are running promos about the O-line coach on the flagship home of the local professional football team. That, to me, is laugh out loud funny. I don't know if we're going to be able to top that as far as entertainment value goes throughout the course of the show, but we will do our best, and we will see if Netflix is going to be able to achieve the level of entertainment and broadcast value that the NFL expects from its product. And whether you guys are sick of having to split up your viewing habits across several streamers, several network streamers, several network television channels, ESPN, whether it's YouTube TV, Netflix, Amazon, what have you, the NFL is just going to continue to spread this thing across the board because there's more money to be made. So we'll get to that here in just a little bit. But there was an interesting news item that Jackson brought up as we were getting ready for the show this morning about Hard Knocks. You know my position on Hard Knocks. I'm not that into it. It's not me that it's designed for. I go to training camp every year. I'm sitting there watching the practices, and whether they're flipping tires at daybreak or running sprints in the middle of the July heat, Hard Knocks is something that's a part of my day-to-day work routine, so I don't really get up for Hard Knocks. Jackson, do you watch Hard Knocks?
I used to every year. I feel like my interest has waned each year.
What was the last season that you had watched as a part of your consecutive, annual watching of Hard Knocks? What was the last one before you started to break it up a little bit?
The one I remember watching fully was the Baker Mayfield.
That's exactly where I stopped too. Because it wasn't going to get any better than that with Greg Williams and Todd Haley out here trying to basically jockeying for Hugh Jackson's job on not live television, but on television for all of us to watch and enjoy the TMZ nature of it, and Baker Mayfield, Tyrod Taylor, the whole thing. That's the last Hard Knocks that I've watched with any kind of real interest in Hard Knocks. They've tried the in-season Hard Knocks before. Amazon also has a variation of it. What do they call it? Because they did something with the Arizona Cardinals when Bruce Arians was still the coach there. I can't remember the name of the program. But anyway, you try to do these spinoffs year in and year out, but they're trying something new this year that I hadn't realized that they were going to go with, and that is Hard Knocks offseason with the New York Giants is going to premiere July 2nd on Max. So Max is now HBO and Discovery and all their other properties combined under one umbrella of Max. They're going to do Hard Knocks offseason, and I honestly think that's more interesting to me. I know that's more interesting to me than the in-season stuff. I didn't really watch the Colts one. Who had in-season Hard Knocks last year? Dolphins?
The Dolphins, yeah.
And maybe there was some compelling stuff. I think there was a couple of things to come out of there, but for the most part, I don't know. Teams are not going to let you learn very much during the season. But the off-season stuff, where the Keon Coleman draft meeting at the Combine gets put out after he's drafted by the Bills, and you see just what it is about him beyond the on-field talent, beyond the film and the player that he is, why it is that he vibed with the Bills organization, the behind-the-scenes discussions that you don't get to see, draft rooms. I'd like to have more information about that. That, I think, is actually valuable. That is a level of access that you don't get anywhere else, because you can get training camp videos year-round, even if you want a little bit of dramatic music and, the odd UDFA storyline that you're following to see if he makes the team or not.
I'm also curious to see what actually goes into a free agent visit. I think that could be covered.
There are elements of this that we really don't have access to that I think are spot on with that. I think the pre-draft process, I think to get to know scouts and how that goes about, how much of that, they're not going to show us their draft boards. Maybe they will since the draft's already concluded. I don't know. I can't imagine that'd be the case. They wouldn't want that out there in the news cycle. So there's still going to be some level of filter on it. But I think it's probably going to be the most informative version of it because it's the stuff that we get the least about other than, hey, J.C. Latham just made a 30 visit with the Tennessee Titans, and he's expected to visit with 3 other teams. All right, well, what goes into that visit? How detailed are they going to get? How much access are we going to get to that stuff? Because we have precious little. So I'm looking forward to seeing that. The New York Giants are particularly interesting at all times, especially since they spent their entire offseason, it seems, kind of dragging their quarterback, who they gave a fat contract to, and then decided after 6 games and an injury that they weren't interested in having him being their long-term quarterback solution. He's their short-term, but for how much longer, we'll see. Russell wants to know where the polls are at. Jackson called me this morning to remind me to put the polls out. I've forgotten to do the polls, so why don't we take a quick break? We'll come back and talk about the Titans' strength of schedule. Yes, what are you throwing your hands up back there about?
2 days out of 3.
That's not bad.
No, that you've forgotten to do them.
No, that's not true. I've done them before the show the past 2 days.
No, you have not, because you did them while I was sitting next to you at Hermitage.
That's not true.
Yes, it is.
I don't think that's right.
That's 100% right.
You don't have a witness.
I'll check the timestamps on the tweets.
Damn.
Go to break.
615. You go to break. The Tennessee Men's Clinic is a great resource for guys who are dealing with erectile dysfunction. It's something that happens naturally to a lot of dudes. About 50% of guys, as we age, as our body changes, will deal with ED at some point. So there's no need to freak out or be negative about it, and certainly don't put off getting the help that you need. That's what the Tennessee Men's Clinic is here for, because the reality is pills often quit working and guys start making excuses for not going to bed. Did you know that studies show that men will be more irritable and argumentative before bed just to avoid failing at intimacy? So if you don't want to go through all that hassle, you want to make life easier on yourself, on your loved ones, on your spouse, your partner, whatever the case may be, call the Tennessee Men's Clinic. Their ED and weight loss treatments truly change lives and are non-surgical. They're seeing success rates as high as 90%. They specialize in seeing guys who think they're out of luck and want to regain hope that they can be successful in the bedroom and beyond. They even offer same or next day appointments. The number 615-208-9090. That's 615-208-9090, or go online to TennesseeMen'sClinic.com and book an appointment today. Schedule release for the NFL. The entire NFL is at 7 p.m. Central Time. We've gotten some questions about is there going to be any additional programming related to the Titans schedule release tonight? I wonder if this is a real name on Twitter, Jackson, where you can interact with us in the Zone TV chat on all 4 streaming platforms. William Wadsworth, do we think that's real? Real name? Fake name?
I'm going to go no. I'm going to go fake name.
Fake name. Okay. Thank you for answering my question correctly the second time around. See, I was just complaining about Jackson. Jackson has this wonderful romantic idea in his head that when we were putting the radio show together, it's at its inception that I picked working with Lucas and Jackson when I had to inform him, no, that was not the case. I wanted them to hire somebody else.
That's mean.
Too mean? We're only 3 days in. Too mean already?
No, just keep it going.
You're
keep it
fine.
moving. You're not, I mean, that is more hurtful to Lucas.
Actually, well, Lucas, it's more true about with Lucas. I actually did have some say, and they just put Lucas and I in 2 separate rooms together, neither of us having daily radio experience, and said, all right.
Figure it out.
Godspeed. Oh, okay. Okay. If you say so.
What were those first couple days like?
Terrible. It was so bad. Just because we had no idea what we were doing. We had no idea what to do. I'd never done radio before. Barely listened to radio, much less do talk radio. 3 hours of sports talk radio. We survived. We managed.
Here we are, bud.
Well, we're somewhere. I don't know where we are, but we're somewhere anyway. So with the schedule release stuff, if there's going to be any original programming or extra programming for the radio station, there is not, except because there's a soccer game tonight, right, Jackson? Are you doing soccer tonight?
There is. I do have soccer tonight. Will on the call for NSC in Toronto. Toronto has a bunch of players suspended for a fight in their last match.
Excellent.
So, going to be interesting. That'll be pregame at 7. But you have a streaming show, correct?
Yes. So what we're going to do, since the radio station has Nashville SC on the air tonight, we are going to simulcast my primetime show for A to Z on the Zone's streaming platform. So if you're watching on Facebook, YouTube, Twitter, Twitch for the Zone today, for the radio show, you will get the primetime show tonight on all those digital platforms. We're going to start, it's me and Bert. We're going to start at about 6:55 to give ourselves a little time before the schedule actually drops. We'll have the schedule. I'll have the schedule before we go live. It's just embargoed until 7 o'clock. They send it out to, I think, all the respective media corps and just say, hey, hold this until a certain time. So we won't be able to say anything about it until 7 o'clock, but we'll at least have a general idea of what it looks like beyond just the schedule leaks and NFL rumors accounts and all that other nonsense that's going to be driving people crazy all day. I do feel like there's so much of that stuff out there that you almost get the schedule now and you're disappointed a little bit because you've seen all kinds of fantastic things like, oh, the Titans are playing on Christmas Day, New Year's Day, and Thanksgiving. Aren't you excited for 3 primetime games all in a nationally televised window or all on national holidays and things like that? And then you get the primetime schedule and you're like, oh, again, Thursday night
football against the Jaguars in October.
No, week 3.
That would be October.
No, week 3 is not in October.
I mean, if the season starts
on September the 5th, bud.
Okay. Well, it's close to October. We were close there. You could have just given it to me.
I could have, but that's not how this works. That is the most disrespectful thing I've ever seen done to 2 NFL franchises. That was Vrabel's first year, I want to say. 2018, maybe 2019.
That was 19. That was the 2-4 start.
Because Mariota was still playing.
Yeah.
And they just put that slop on Thursday Night Football in week 3 just to get it the hell out of the way. Just get Titans Jags out of the way. It was in the middle of a downpour. We couldn't see out of the press box. You needed like windshield wipers in Jacksonville. Not just because of the rain, but because it's just so damn muggy. And it fogged up. You couldn't see anything that was happening other than Adoree Jackson muffing punts and letting the Jags score a touchdown off of it.
Did they have those ugly uniform combos with the Jags yellow?
Oh, the peanut butter?
Yeah, the peanut butter looking, the Dijon mustard looking uniform.
It's somewhere between peanut butter. Dijon mustard is probably closer than peanut butter. It almost does look like some form of like vomit, I would say. Just because it's mixed. They have it like mixed in the peanut butter color or the mustard color with just kind of black or blue or something like that. A little bit of alcohol poisoning mixed in there.
Gross.
Not ideal. I'm glad they went away from those. Anyway, we are going to do a schedule prediction for the Titans. Not like win-loss, because we won't have the schedule or the dates before or while we're doing the radio show. Maybe we can do that tonight on primetime. But we're going to predict what the Titans' schedule looks like, the amount of primetime games, where the bye week might be. Jackson, are you prepared for this exercise in the noon hour?
I've got my opponents pulled up. You're going down.
Okay, so I'm going down. What do you mean?
You're going to lose. I'm going to predict more games correctly.
Oh, this is like a competition?
Oh, absolutely.
All right. Well, since, as is the custom with this radio show, me making bets that I'm never going to follow up on, what do you want to bet between you and I? Who gets the most things correct on the Titans schedule when it comes out tonight? Because we can rehash this on the radio show tomorrow, and then I'll decide whether or not I want to follow through with the bet.
This is 12 o'clock segment. I'm going to need a little bit of mulling.
No, I'm saying, what do you want to bet?
I know. I got to think.
You can't think on the spot?
None of us are good at that.
Somebody around here has to be good at that. I'm not saying I'm good at it, but just... It's nothing to contribute.
You're not going to get a tattoo over a schedule release. So
I might. I'm not above that. Why not? I already texted Nick Bishop at Hattie B's and said I was going to get the Hattie B's logo tattooed on my butt cheek if we finished number one in the Barrett poll, which is bad. I don't know if that's good for the brand, bad for the brand. Either way, I'm not above a tattoo.
Probably something to wear during the show. I kind of want to make you wear Slay's Traylon Burks jersey.
Oh.
Yeah, that's it.
Oh, I don't want to do that. But we already have that bet going over the Traylon Burks bet.
But Slay,
I'm already committed to several other things that I'm not going to follow up on.
You've said Slay's backed out of that bet, which would open up the Burks jersey to use for here.
He tried to after the Tyler Boyd thing. Well, he wouldn't commit to me on the bet. I said 800 yards. He said no, 750. We're not doing this. We're not haggling over what I'm willing to bet to wear a Traylon Burks jersey for 3 hours. All right, we'll discuss, we'll reconvene, we'll figure out exactly what the bet's going to be. Perhaps the audience can participate. 615-737-1045 is the number. Trippin' Titan says you have to wear Slay's Burks jersey after he has worn it for a week unwashed. No, why would I do that? That's disgusting. That sounds terrible. Somebody said get a Jim Wyatt tattoo on the other butt cheek. I'd have to talk to Jimmy about that. That might lead to some awkward media room conversations, but I'm not above it. We'll see if Wyatt's not on the podcast this week, and we'll ask him some questions about how uncomfortable that might be. Either way, strength of schedule for the Titans based on their current opponents and the way that they finished in games last year. Now, I think there's a couple of different ways that people look at strength of schedule, right, wrong, or indifferent. If you had to guess who has the toughest strength of schedule in football this year, Jackson, which team would you go with? I'll tell you, it's an AFC North team.
The Ravens, because they won that division.
No, they have the second strength of schedule. The Cleveland Browns actually have a more difficult strength of schedule based on their opponent's win percentage from last season than do the Ravens. In fact, the AFC North, Browns, Ravens, and Steelers, by that criteria, have the three toughest schedules in football next year. The Texans are fourth, which is something to monitor, given that the Titans are trying to compete for the AFC South, and the Texans won it last year. They'll be playing a first-place schedule. You want to take a guess where the Titans are? Last place finish.
Going to guess pretty low. I'm going to say 26th.
They are 23rd in terms of strength of schedule this coming season between the Eagles and the Cardinals. They are the team in the AFC South with the easiest strength of schedule. The Colts are 21st, right after the Broncos and Chiefs.
How do the Chiefs end up with the, 19th easiest schedule in the NFL?
I guess it's based on, because they're playing a first-place schedule, but all right, who in the AFC West is really threatening the Chiefs this year?
Oh, yeah, they were all bad last year. So that would probably takes their win total that down.
Yeah, Chargers look like they should be the most competitive team, not named Kansas City in the AFC West, but the Chargers have had high preseason expectations before and been pretty regularly choking dogs. So I'm not willing to really give that much credence to the rest of the division that the Chiefs are in. The opponents we have for the Titans already, even if we don't know the exact order, the one thing that we do know is that the team won't be playing an international game this year because they just played in London last year. So at home, the Titans will host Bengals, Packers, Vikings, Pats, Jets, plus the 3 AFC South teams. The away games, Buffalo, Chicago, Detroit, the Chargers, Miami, Washington, and again, the AFC South games. What's the best game on the Titans' schedule just based on opponent?
Like the team I'm most interested in watching them play?
Yeah, 615-737-1045 is how you join the discussion. You can also chime in the F&M Bank chat. Which game on the Titans' schedule, without knowing the dates, which is the best opponent, home or road? I think you can pick. I'm not going to have you pick one of each, but what is the best game on the Titans' schedule? It should have been the Titans and Ravens last year at Nissan Stadium, but they moved it to London.
So I'm stuck between two teams, one home, one away. I'm really interested to see the Lions and the Titans play. And then the Vikings coming to town, I think, will also be fun, just because they have Justin Jefferson, Jordan Addison, TJ Hawkinson. They also have a rookie quarterback. If it's early in the season, he could still be figuring things out. I think the Vikings could be a fun home game for the neutral observer.
And that's not a team that you see very often. Now, again, I'm biased here. I would like to see them play Minnesota in Minnesota.
You want to go to U.S. Bank?
I've been to U.S. Bank. They did it. They had the preseason game there last year.
Okay.
But I want to go to U.S. Bank I want to go to U.S. Bank for a regular season game. Because they were lit in there for a preseason game. They're doing a skull chant. It was Kirk Cousins' birthday, so they're getting a little rowdy pregame and stuff like that. It was a great atmosphere. Now, part of that is because the press box at U.S. Bank has one of my favorite things, which is it's open air. So you can actually hear the crowd, feel the atmosphere a little bit more, feel like you're more a part of the game rather than the press box at Nissan in a lot of these older stadiums. It's a little bit, I don't know. What's the word?
Stuffy.
Sanitized. You're at a football game. You're at a football game. You're watching football fans be drunk in front of you in the stands. You're watching football players on a field, whatever. But it doesn't really, some of them are stuffy.
And you didn't get to go in 2020, the Justin Jefferson breakout game.
To Minnesota. No, yeah. In fact, there was a story that me and PK broke together. Shane Bowen. We haven't been able to figure out whether Shane Bowen was patient zero or that practice squad corner who kept making appearances during the Mike Vrabel era was patient zero for COVID. But Shane Bowen didn't make that trip because he had COVID, which was a whole situation during the pandemic that we were having to track down whilst not being able to travel to games. It was a mess. I think it's the Jets game. Most interesting to me, the Jets in Nashville, not just because Aaron Rodgers and the team of all-star IR players that they've put together around him, they've drafted some insurance policies for guys like Tyron Smith and Mike Williams, who they brought in free agency to help. They're basically all in on Super Bowl or bust with the 40-plus-year-old quarterback who's coming off an Achilles tear. But it's not just because of Aaron Rodgers. We did not talk about the Jets coaching staff getting fired at all this offseason, right? Once the regular season ended, once the Jets were eliminated from contention, at least the offensive side of the ball, Nate Hackett and, of course, Titans legend Todd Downing.
I forgot Todd Downing's on that staff.
It's not just Todd. It's Keith Carter. There was a couple of assistants that went to New York. I think Bowen and Tim Kelly are both with the Giants. I know Bowen is. I can't remember if Tim Kelly's with the Giants or the Jets. Either way, there's a couple of former Titans staff members on the Jets staff, including Todd Downing, and I can't decide who I think is more likely to not be there by the time the Titans play the Jets, Todd Downing or Aaron Rodgers. Just because of injury or firing. I couldn't believe that there was not even a shred of consideration given to firing the Jets offensive coaching staff this year. That they ran it back is wild to me.
They had their scapegoat.
Who's the scapegoat?
Zach Wilson.
Oh, that's trash.
They had their scapegoat.
It is such trash that Zach Wilson is the scapegoat for ineptitude, both of the front office for drafting that kid second overall, when there were plenty of questions at the time, and for an offensive coaching staff. And I don't know, do you lump Robert Saleh in there? Isn't he like a knockoff Vrabel? He's tough guy defensive coach that hasn't done any actual winning of consequence in the ways that Mike Vrabel did, at least at the first part of his tenure here.
Yeah, he's Vrabel without the AFC Championship game appearance.
Oh, have the Jets even been in the playoffs?
No.
With Saleh? No, of course not. They've been wretched. Nope. The fact that he's still there, much less that offensive coaching staff is still there, and that you would scapegoat Zach Wilson in the middle of all that, no. Aaron Rodgers, the idea that is Aaron Rodgers not the most powerful player in the NFL right now over his circumstance?
Oh yeah, he can do whatever he wants.
It's not even close, right? Because all the old head quarterbacks like that, Tom Brady, Peyton Manning, anybody who else would
Big Ben,
they've all aged out, and it's just Aaron Rodgers roaming around out there on ayahuasca and God knows what else. By the way, going to open up again on Monday Night Football? Are we again going to do the American flag thing? I don't know. There would be some dark, twisted irony to me wanting to see him run out of the tunnel with the American flag again, just to see if he makes it longer than 4 plays this year, because he's still playing on MetLife turf.
Will we see play 5?
There's some kind of sick offshore bet on over-under on Aaron Rodgers' plays this year. Shouldn't make jokes about that. Of course, it's a terrible situation. But the idea that when Aaron Rodgers went down, Jackson, that the Jets lost basically their head coach and offensive coordinator in one fell swoop. Their quarterback, their head coach, and their offensive coordinator all in one fell swoop because Aaron Rodgers is vastly more powerful than either of those other two individuals. And they couldn't do anything.
Yeah, it was over. You saw Aaron Rodgers get carted off the field. You're like, oh, Jets season. They're no longer going to do anything in the AFC.
Zach Wilson might well be broken, okay? They might have ruined him in New York, all right, for all time. But the idea that they couldn't figure out anything around Zach Wilson with some kind of offensive talent, and they did have some. They had a wretched offensive line situation, arguably as bad, if not worse, than the Titans, and you saw their offseason and their draft address those needs pretty thoroughly, or at least as much as humanly possible, not just with the Tyron Smith contract, but they took Ola Fashanu, the tackle out of Penn State, who I know a lot of Titans fans wanted. Still, I think the idea of the Jets coming to Nashville with all of that intrigue around it and a potential Todd Downing revenge game, oh, come on. It's too good.
I'm just looking at who the Jets played at quarterback last season. Zach Wilson.
Oh, who was the other one?
Tim Boyle and Trevor Siemian.
No, there was another one, wasn't there?
That was 2 years ago.
2 years ago?
Yeah.
What was his name? He was like an AFL quarterback or something like that.
Mike White?
No, not Mike White. Mike White actually had a moment. Got Jordan Schultz is leaking all kinds of schedule stuff. Have you noticed this? Jordan Schultz at Yahoo, or Bleacher Report rather. He changes jobs so damn often. Yes. I don't know where he's at right now. The highly anticipated Chiefs versus Bills rematch will be in Week 11 in Buffalo, 4:25 Eastern on CBS. Pat Mahomes, Josh Allen never fails. Look at Jordan Schultz out here leaking all the schedule, all the picks during the draft, and all the schedule leaks.
Did you see Chiefs 49ers Week 7? With Tom Brady on the call?
I did see that.
Isn't that the perfect time for the Chiefs to slump and the 49ers to win that game and everybody to count out the Chiefs? Like, what was that game this year? It was on Sunday Night Football. I can't recall. The
game that counted out the Chiefs this year. I don't know. There was a couple of, them losing Week 1 to Detroit was kind of like they might have some issues here, especially with the drops that they experienced at various times throughout the course of the season. So, I don't know. I think a part of me wants to say the Texans game because I just want there to be a rivalry where there's legit hate. I'm so jealous of what's happening with the Knicks and the Pacers right now and the rivalries that the Knicks have with some of these NBA basketball teams and just how much, or the Knicks and the Sixers, right? Just how much hate there is actively in those playoff series. I want more hate in the AFC South.
Like the bleep Joel Embiid chants going through the 76ers,
the
arena.
Yeah, just taken over by Knicks fans. Crazed Knicks fans chanting bleep Joel Embiid en route to, I mean, they didn't sweep them, but it was a pretty uncompetitive series, save for a couple of moments throughout the course of that. And the Knicks look like they're getting ready to advance past the Pacers.
Your Indiana Pacers.
My Indiana Pacers. I don't know. I don't want Rick Carlisle. He's my dumbest thing in sports this week at 11 o'clock. I got some complaining to do about Rick Carlisle. Anyway. 615-737-1045 is how you join the discussion. We'd be happy to have you. Let's go to Buffalo, who works in concrete, as we well know. Hey, bud.
Interesting thing about Ron Rodgers is he's going to face in his first game the dude that helped break his Achilles, that he got traded, and he's going to be looking at him in his first game. My Green Bay Packers would be my vote for the Titans' best game this year. Of course, I'm a big Green Bay guy, so they're going to be coming to Nashville. We'll be watching them with the Nashville Packer backers. It looked like Green Bay was tense on the strength of schedule, and the Falcons were the easiest. They had the easiest schedule, but to my point, Nashville SC will have Alien Ant Farm at 6:20 tonight before the game. Should be pretty good. He done that. They did that Michael Jackson reboot, Smooth Criminal. I don't know if you remember, but that should be a pretty good time. And y'all have a good day.
Thank you for the call, Buffalo. We appreciate that little pregame performance from Alien Ant Farm. I haven't heard that in a while.
Right at the buzzer with Buffalo.
He knows what he's doing. Take more of your phone calls on the Titans schedule coming up next. Schedule release tonight at 7 p.m. Central Time. We'll have a live stream broadcast, simulcast on the Zone's streaming platforms from the A to Z Sports Network, where I'll be doing the show with Bert tonight and breaking down the Titans schedule in real time. Got some SEC observations too?
Yes, we do.
That's next. Got SEC observations to get to here in just a second. Baseball related, I'm sure, at this point in the year. Got some phone calls on the Titans schedule to get to as well. 615-737-1045. Welcome back to the show. We're fueled by Hattie B's Hot Chicken. You can download their app and mobile order Hattie B's wherever you are. Chuck is up next. He's a loan officer. Hey, Chuck.
Hey, Buck. Hey, my two games are the Jacksonville Jaguars at Jacksonville. I want to see Ridley go for about 150 against them and then wave goodbye to Trevor as we're walking off the field. And then the home game would be the Bengals. I want to see Zach Taylor and Bill Callahan Brian Callahan go against each other, being coaching together for 5 years. I think that would be an intriguing matchup.
Thank you for the call, Chuck. I appreciate it. The Ridley-Jacksonville storyline, whenever we get to those Jags games, are going to be fun because when we were getting ready for the live show with Cosell and Rand, Greg sent me a bunch of Ridley plays that he wanted to have for us to break down. The vast majority of the Ridley plays, Jackson, were all from his games against the Titans because this man just torched him at every opportunity. In both games, really, it felt like he had a huge impact in the season finale that the Titans did win 28-20. Calvin Ridley still had 6 catches for 106 yards. He had a touchdown, a 59-yard reception. He was a monster against the Titans last year. So you're hoping that he can reciprocate that energy if you're a Titans fan against the Jags twice. I shoulder dance every time, but that time it was begrudging because you cut me off.
I always cut you off.
I know.
Gonna get used to it, bud, but these are the SEC observations. We're doing baseball today because the last SEC regular season series are this week, Thursday through Saturday. Tennessee gonna take on South Carolina. So after this weekend, we talked about it on Friday, where do you think Tennessee ranks in the SEC East?
Second.
They are still second. They are still number one in the country, but they are second in the SEC East. They are behind Kentucky, and they're tied for second with Arkansas in the overall SEC standings.
Yeah, both 19-8 in the conference this year between Tennessee and Arkansas. They are as good a team as any in the country, as indicated by the NCAA rankings or the AP rankings. But in the SEC standings, because Kentucky has one more win and one less loss at 20-7 within the conference, that's why it looks the way that it does. 37-11 overall are the Wildcats. Tennessee 43-10 on the season.
Tennessee's going to need some help to be the 1 seed in its own conference tournament while being ranked number 1 overall in the country. They need Vanderbilt to at least win 1 game. If Tennessee sweeps South Carolina, then Tennessee would be number 1. But otherwise, you're looking at a 2 seed, maybe even, if you lose 2 games South Carolina, you're probably looking at a 3 seed in the SEC tournament.
They run-ruled Belmont.
They did, 10-0.
So after dropping the final game of the 3-game series against Vanderbilt and what would have been 10 straight games had they been able to beat Vandy again, swept them here in Nashville, it would have been the second time that they'd done that, but they were able to avoid the sweep in the final game of that series, and then they got right against Belmont in 7 innings, 10-0 at home yesterday was that game. So they've got a 3-game series versus South Carolina to conclude the regular season at this point, Jackson. And so what should Vols fans be keeping an eye out for in that one?
So for the division, Tennessee, in the SEC East, Kentucky needs to win 1 more game than Tennessee to win outright. Tennessee must win 2 more games than Kentucky to win outright. So if Vanderbilt wins that series and Tennessee sweeps South Carolina, they're the 1 seed.
Okay.
Kentucky and Tennessee will share the division title if Tennessee has 1 more victory than Kentucky this week. So if Tennessee goes 2-1 and Kentucky loses their series to Vanderbilt, they share the division title. It's going to take 2 more wins than Kentucky for Tennessee to win the division outright.
So we'll get the SEC tournament in less than a week. 6 days from now is when it'll begin in Hoover from the 21st to the 26th, and we'll see how it goes. Ricky says 4 of the SEC teams are ranked ahead of Tennessee in RPI. Jackson.
Yes.
Is that something? Where is the greatest flaw for this Vols team? Because we know that the scoring, we know that the bats are electric with this particular squad. We talked about how it compared to the record-setting team. What was that, in 2021 or 22?
22 is the record-breaking team.
22. We talked about that on Monday with Chris Burke of the SEC Network. Looking at the way that the Vols are constructed right now, is there anything that you're kind of concerned about before conference tournament play begins?
The starting pitching has been it's not bad. It's a very good pitching staff. It's not as good as Tennessee's had in recent years. And I don't know, if you are in a park that doesn't carry very well, like Tennessee's been so reliant on home runs, as you saw this weekend. If you've seen all season, Tennessee has been a record-breaking home run team this season. You worry about, what if the ball's not going over the wall? You get in a park, the wind's not in your favor. Just, different things like that are good. It's baseball. Baseball's weird.
And that's
so weird.
And that's your analysis. Baseball's weird. That's what we got for you.
Baseball's weird.
Excellent. Glad we got that established. Coming up next, it's the dumbest thing in sports this week. Jackson, what do we have for them to win if they give us the dumbest thing in sports this week?
2 tickets to Bill Burr, May 17th.
May 17th. So that's this coming, is that this Friday? This Friday, where? Bridgestone? Bridgestone Arena, 615-737-1045. If you guys give us the dumbest thing in sports this week, we'll send you to Bill Burr on Friday at Bridgestone. Bring some good ones because we've got ours to give you as well. Josh Pate also in the second hour. He'll be in studio. He spent a lot of time in a lot of different programs across the country right now, but did spend an episode of his Late Kick show speaking with Josh Heupel and spent the day going and finding out everything that he was curious about the Vols program heading into 2024. So we'll look forward to Pate and the dumbest thing in sports this week coming up next.
It is 11 o'clock. Good morning from the 104.5 The Zone studios of Jackson Williams. In NFL news, Netflix has announced that it will be the exclusive home to the NFL's Christmas Day slate of games for the next 3 seasons. One game is reported to be the Kansas City Chiefs and the Pittsburgh Steelers. Full schedule release takes place tonight at 7 p.m. The Tennessee Vols baseball team wrapped up its midweek schedule as they defeated Belmont 10-0. Tennessee hosts South Carolina this weekend in Knoxville for its final SEC regular season series. In the NBA playoffs, the Knicks beat down the Indiana Pacers 121-91, and the Denver Nuggets took down the Minnesota Timberwolves 112-97. The Knicks and the Nuggets each take a 3-2 series lead, respectively. For all your foundation repair and waterproofing needs, you need to visit USSTN.com. Breaking news at once on your home for the Titans and Vols. This is 104.5 The Zone.
It sure is. And if you give us the dumbest thing in sports this week, as is the custom at 11 o'clock on Wednesday, we'll give you 2 tickets to see comedian Bill Burr at Bridgestone Arena this Friday. 615-737-1045 is the number. All you have to do is give us the dumbest thing in sports this week before Josh Pate gets in here. And if there are enough calls for the tickets, as I expect there will be, because Bill Burr, very popular guy, very funny guy. It's going to be a great show at Bridgestone. I actually haven't looked at tickets for this, but I may just. I haven't seen a comedy show live in a long time. So if you want to go on Friday, 615-737-1045, just give us the dumbest thing in sports this week. I'm going to start with my Indiana Pacers, who are trailing in their playoff series against the New York Knicks. Knicks look like they might just be dead in Game 4, found a way to gut it out in Game 5, and Indiana should have had a much better series than they have had to date. Part of that is because they're dealing with some stuff with the officials that Rick Carlisle, the coach there, has pointed out pretty regularly. But I meant to bring this up last week, except it had already happened. We'd already done the dumbest thing in sports this week last week, so I had to wait until this Wednesday to get to this Rick Carlisle sound from Game 2. So the Pacers lose to the Knicks again, and Rick Carlisle gets up there in front of the podium and wants to talk about the officiating. And he makes sure to say, now I tell the players all the time, we're not getting into the officiating. We're not blaming the officials. But his team just can't get a win against the New York Knicks. And we're getting some key officiating calls going against them, which, by the way, some of the calls against the Pacers were outright garbage. And I don't say that as like a fan or anything like that. I just think it's been a very slighted, or at least the calls have been very much in favor of New York, whether that's intentional or not. That's just the way that it plays out. But Rick Carlisle decides to go tin hat conspiracy theory and invoke the idea that the NBA is rooting against small markets.
Their physicality is rewarded and ours is penalized, just, time after time. And so, it's just, I'm just really disappointed. Just really disappointed. The 2 technicals, you gotta make a stand for your guys. You gotta stand up for what's right.
So Rick Carlisle goes on as a part of that to say, and this is the thing that got him fined $35,000, quote, small market teams deserve an equal shot. They deserve a fair shot no matter where they're playing. Don't play into the fan stuff, Rick. If you want to complain about the officials and you want to send your 2-minute report to the league, as he did, and I think he sent almost 80 different calls that he took issue with, that the Pacers took issue with after Game 2 to the league through the first 2 games?
I heard 17.
No, I don't think it was 17. I think it was combined from the 2 games.
Yeah, from Game 1 and 2, 17.
No. 17, 1-7?
Yes.
That's not accurate. It was almost 80 calls. 78 total in total 78 in total in 2 games that were not officiated correctly. That's what he said he planned to submit. How many he actually submitted may be a different question. But if he went from 78 to 17, then we've got an issue there. But either way, what he said is he planned to submit 78 plays in total across 2 games that were not officiated correctly to the league, and then goes into the thing about the small market teams. That's for fans to whine about. That's for people who are just looking for excuses about why your team can't beat a team, and you look around and say, all right, well, the league wants the bigger market teams to advance to the conference championships or to the divisional round or whatever the case may be. How's the small market thing, the small market bias, worked against New York in the last couple of years? Or is it just that New York's been a bad basketball team and hasn't been able to break through until recently? There's been no big market help for the New York Knicks as far as their competence or relevance. Don't give me. I think it's so lame for him to get up there. I don't even mind him complaining about the officials. I don't even mind him sending 78 plays to the league. If you think you got jobbed, it's a part of your prerogative as a coach to make sure that you put your team in the best position, in the most advantageous position as humanly possible. It's an easy thing for Knicks fans to make fun of Rick Carlisle for and just be like, well, you're not actually coaching your team. You're just going to sit here and nitpick the officiating calls and whine about it, which, okay, fine, fair. It's an easy thing to pile on. But to get into the lame stuff like small market teams deserve a shot too. No, Rick, you can't hold on to a lead. Your guys aren't hitting free throws. Your use of your lineups have been confusing pretty regularly in terms of how they're playing their best players and when they're not playing their best players late into games, which is a big part of the reason why Jalen Brunson is a New York Knick now after playing for Rick Carlisle, who had him as a third-string guy in Dallas before they shipped him off to New York.
And he dropped 40 on them last night.
Exactly. Like he's just, and consistently has found ways to drop 40 throughout the course of this postseason that has him drawing statistical comparisons, not player comparisons. Don't do this, but statistical comparisons to play off Michael Jordan, right? You've seen that out there between Anthony Edwards and Jalen Brunson.
I've seen some memes.
I don't want to get into that. That's my dumbest thing in sports this week. Rick Carlisle doing the fan thing, which is to say the NBA is scripted. They're just rooting for the big market teams. Lazy and lame.
Mine is we're going to go backwards to go forwards. Do you remember the story of Chiefsaholic?
I do. So Chiefsaholic, for those of you who don't remember, is the Chiefs superfan that would dress in a wolf outfit head to toe, right?
Yes, I'm looking at a picture of him right now.
A wolf outfit head to toe, but famously, Chiefsaholic was paying for his Chiefs tickets by robbing banks in the very same wolf Chiefs outfit that he was attending the games in. Yes?
Yes, he would just take the jersey off. So he was robbing these banks,
Incredible.
and he was finally caught in the 2022 season towards the end. And they realized, Chiefs fans realized he was arrested when he wasn't posting on Twitter from the game because I believe they were playing Houston, and like he was driving down to Houston and robbing a bank on the way to get himself into the Chiefs-Texans game.
You know, some people go to the ATM, some people rob a bank.
Just stop and get some quick cash. So Amazon has approved a true crime documentary chronicling the story of a Chiefs fan who turned bank robber, known as Chiefsaholic. The documentary, titled Chiefsaholic, A Wolf in Chiefs Clothing, will tell the story of Xavier Babudar. I'm going to try to not butcher that.
Okay.
And he will be interviewed in the documentary. I think this is hilarious. Why are we giving this guy more of a platform? It's a great story. It's funny, and I'm going to watch it.
A wolf in Chiefs clothing.
Yes, like a wolf in sheep's clothing.
Yes, I get the joke. Thank you. Did you just give me a thumbs up on an audio medium?
Absolutely. But why are we doing this? I mean, I understand, it's
Why
funny.
did we make Tiger King?
Because it was a good bit.
People are entertained by dumb stuff. Why is Love is Blind one of America's most cultural touchstones right now? Because people are entertained by dumb stuff.
Do you think he's going to claim his innocence?
Oh, I hope so.
I hope he does too. I didn't do it. That's not me. That's a different wolf.
Speaking of true crime things, before we get into calls for the dumbest thing in sports this week for the opportunity to win some Bill Burr tickets, 615-737-1045 is the number. I think that I think that the need for this kind of low-level entertainment is so mind-boggling to me until I start to watch it myself. Because my first reaction is, why does anybody care about Chiefsaholic? And then I'm going to watch one episode and be immediately hooked because it's just going to be big and dumb and stupid. And we're all going to know the obvious thing that, yeah, the idiot who was just taking a Chiefs jersey off a Wolf outfit to go rob banks to pay for his super fan season tickets. Doing it on the way to road games is hilarious to me.
It's such a commitment to the bet. Like, I respect it.
But I for some reason, speaking of true crime stuff, I started to rewatch OJ Made in America, the 6-part
ESPN doc,
Oscar-winning thing that ESPN did. It's just so crazy to rewatch again. You're going to talk about a wolf in sheep's clothing. OJ. Anyway, R.I.P. Tough scene. 615. It's been a while. We haven't had Dan Lust on in a while. Is there anything legal that we need Dan Lust for? Maybe the NCAA? Versus House, which is what we're going to talk to Josh Pate about here in just a little bit. First, your phone calls on the dumbest thing in sports this week. Let's start with Bobo, who's a delivery driver.
So my dumbest thing in sports, we're going to go to Europe, which I think is kind of appropriate. The Champions League finals coming up, and the two teams playing are Madrid and Dortmund. Champions League finals, the yearly Super Bowl equivalent, not to be confused with the World Cup. So last year, Madrid and Dortmund had a blockbuster transfer, which is translates to trade, essentially. And Madrid paid $100 million, and within the contract, there was a stipulation that if the player that they signed wins the Champions League, they would pay Dortmund $30 million. So the way this final works is their two are playing in the final. If Dortmund wins, they only make $20 million. But if they lose because of the contract, they win $40 million. So double-edged sword right there.
How the hell is that allowed to happen, Bobo? That's crazy.
It's Europe, man. They do crazy stuff over there.
I feel like I'm missing some details on that, but I appreciate the call. Stay on hold so we can reach back out to you if you win. Waters, a mailman, up next.
Yeah, my dumbest thing in sports, Paul Pierce. Earlier in the week, he had said Nashville is who wants to come to Nashville or something like that. And then I seen yesterday he was on whatever show he's on with Skip Bayless and Keyshawn Johnson. He trying to show Key Johnson some clip, I guess. And he's like, look at this N-word. Look at this N-word live on TV.
Yeah, I did see that.
Come on, man. What are you doing? Like, Paul Pierce, I liked his game, but ever since he got into the media, it's like he's guess he's ruining his legacy or something. So that's my dumbest thing in sports, Paul Pierce. Like, come on, man.
Yeah, maybe. Appreciate the call, Waters. Don't say the N-word on national television. Don't say the N-word generally in places that are publicly broadcast, I guess, unless, you're doing it on an HBO program or something like that. But obviously, if you're not the kind of person who gets to use that word, don't use that word. Paul Pierce qualifies, but not on national television in the middle of the day. What are you doing? I didn't see his comments on Nashville, talking about the NBA in Nashville potentially. Did you see that Rob Manfred shot down any idea of Major League Baseball in Nashville anytime soon? Last couple of weeks?
Did not see that.
Yeah, he said.
Tough scene.
Yeah, well, we'll do the gaslighting every year with the Nashville Stars, and somebody will tell me, yeah, we're working on it. Our timeline's just been moved back a little bit, and then something like the commissioner comes out and say, maybe 2029, boys. Okay, see you out there. All right, Paul Pierce or the Champions League final? Because the Champions League final thing is pretty hideous. How the hell are you more incentivized financially to lose a game than win?
It's Bobo. I'm going with Bobo.
Bobo it is. We appreciate the call. You're going to see Bill Burr on Friday at Bridgestone Arena. Jackson will be in contact with you here in just a second. Josh Pate will join us coming up next. We'll talk about his visit to the University of Tennessee, his sit-down with Josh Heupel, and everything that's going on between House and the NCAA. I'm Buck Rising. It's 104.5 The Zone. QC Kinetics is here to help you in the most important time of year where joint pain can bog you down and keep you from doing the outdoor stuff you love, like storm chasing, for example. Don't go through another summer missing out on life. Call QC Kinetics now and find out how they can use biologics from your own body to give new life to your achy joints. QC's regenerative medicine protocols can restore and repair that damaged tissue with no surgery, no steroids, no drugs, and no downtime. It's the future of medicine, and tens of thousands of QC Kinetics patients around the country are living their best life this year because they made the call. So call QC Kinetics now for a free consultation. Revolutionary treatments for joint pain are here. The number 615-249-4024. That's 615-249-4024. So Lucas gets a promotion, and he does like Christopher Cross. He rides like the wind. He goes to Italy. He gets out of town. So instead, we sub Josh Pate in for the Lucas Panzica, who now, for some reason, since he's been in studio with me, has a God complex and decides that he can take off whenever he pleases.
And is called the Lucas Panzica now instead of a.
Well, he can't get his name on the show because my vanity will prevent that until the end of time.
As has always been the case, yeah.
I did genuinely ask him, I'm like, do you want to change the name of the show? Since he's moving in studio with me and Jackson is going to be in here, and he does not have that kind of a God complex that I do. So.
Or was it one of those, well, no, you don't have to do that, when secretly his entire family is waiting on that switch to happen. They want to buy the merch. Side note, where's the merch?
We've never done merch.
I'm wearing everyone else's. I could be wearing yours.
Well, that's fair, but we have not, our recruiting process has not been as vigorous as yours has, for those who are following Late Kick Live and the gas station wars that continue.
Oh, you don't even know.
I don't know. I just see what's on social media. I can't even imagine what's going on and how tightly contested that race is behind the scenes. We have talked about merch before, and then one lovely listener made me a Butt Rising Show t-shirt instead of a Buck Rising Show t-shirt, and I kind of settled on that as merch for the time being, and I haven't really pushed the issue since then.
Well,
perhaps I should.
It is a very thorny field to get into. So if you're not ready to dive in head first, don't do it. Just settle for the butt stuff. If you take nothing else away today, that's the clip I want you to take. Paul Pierce, what?
Josh Pate, Late Kick Live. Subscribe to the channel wherever it is that you get your podcast. You can find him there as well. Late Kick Live, of course, famously on YouTube. And the Late Kick Extra Pod is why you need that podcast feed information. You've had many great visits across various campuses in the world of college football, but one in particular that the audience cares about, your conversation with Josh Heupel and your visit to the University of Tennessee. Going into that what are you calling them?
I am calling them visits, I guess, but it's the Pate State Speaker Series.
The Pate State Speaker Series. So going into that edition of the Speaker Series, what did you have on the top of your mind that you wanted to get accomplished, and what did you learn that may have fallen in line with those preconceived notions about what the Vols are going to be in 2024, or might have changed your perspective?
So, well, the one thing I wanted to know is, behind the scenes, how do they view that quarterback? Because he'll be the face of that team this year, nationally. Otherwise, I feel like Tennessee's kind of an anonymous good team, even in college football circles. So people know Nico's there. People know Heupel's there, the offensive juggernaut. Like these are the first things that would come to mind when you think Tennessee. Well, they bristle at that a little bit. Not the quarterback part, but the perception that they're just chuck it downfield like that's their offense. Because it's not. And it's not just their opinion. Like you could put cold, hard data in front of someone. They're a 2,500-yard rushing team every year. They're a very, very balanced play calling team every year. Now, the way that they call plays and the way they work in option progression stuff throughout play calling, it may be a little bit different, but they run the ball at you. And the other thing, and this is kind of what I talked to Heupel about, is when you're walking around the building there, I was there all day. And so I talked to most of the staff. You talked to a lot of the recruiting, player personnel folks, sports science folks. Everybody in the building's talking about defense. You would think you were at Iowa. Like everyone's talking about defense. Everyone's talking about how underrated they are. They like their depth up front. The staff defensively they love. And so I knew he was already teed up. So I said, hey, folks think you're a pinball offense. They think you just chuck it downfield. What do you think about that? You can see him getting red. And he just goes and goes and goes, but he's not lying. He's not trying to propagandize you. He's telling the truth. And that's always the kind of team I look forward to watching. The team that may be mischaracterized nationally, because you get them into a big game and people have these talking points that have been cemented into their brain. And then all of a sudden they're watching Tennessee's got 184 and 2 touchdowns on the ground at the half. And you're saying, oh, this is an anomaly. It's not. It's who they are.
Which is exactly what you need to be with a young quarterback, even though he's had some time to sit behind Joe Milton. You want to take as much pressure off him as humanly possible, and the ability to run the ball is the easiest way, if you're capable of doing that, if you're built to do that, as humanly possible. But it's funny to me just coming at it from an NFL perspective, because their offense is viewed that way by people who are evaluating talent at the next level, and I don't understand why there's such a disconnect even inside the football world where scouts are spending so much time watching these guys, bringing back the information, and still there's kind of a stigmatization around the Tennessee offense, as far as I can tell, Pate, just based off one season of Hendon Hooker that way, because the rest of it has been very much true to form, defense and a running game.
So I'm glad you mentioned that. I would not have thought about this. So I was at another campus talking to another head coach and offensive coordinator, major program. And they were talking about how they had to have shifted their philosophy a little bit, how they call plays, and they have to mix in more huddling. And they're doing it specifically because the feedback they get from the NFL is, we don't like the up-tempo guys. We don't like the hurry-up, no huddle. We actually want to see someone operate an offense instead of you with your headset on, basically treating them like a video game character and calling the plays for them, because we're getting them on the Sunday level and they can't perform for us. Because far be it for the NFL to ever develop someone. You're just supposed to be a ready-made product by the time you get there. It's not our job.
They're so good at it,
we're
Josh.
not supposed to coach. Come on now. So I was talking to them, and they never mention it by name, but you can tell one of the programs they're referencing is Heupel in Tennessee. And I'm a believer that there's not an established enough track record yet. I mean, Hendon Hooker was available for a reason. Like, Hendon Hooker was not a highly thought of commodity, and he exploded in Heupel's offense. Well, everyone looks at that through one of two prisms. You can either look at that and you can say, oh yeah, he put up big numbers, but look, the NFL didn't think very highly of him. Or you can say, he wouldn't have put up those numbers anywhere else. Josh Heupel squeezed every ounce of potential out of him and got him as far as he could possibly get him in NFL circles. And then maybe this guy that you've got now, Nico Iamaleava, 3 years or 2 years or whatever from now, is the more accurate read on what a quarterback that is handpicked by that staff out of high school is capable of when being developed fully and going through the program instead of just being on a team for a year. Like, we have a data incomplete situation, I think, as it relates to how the NFL looks at a Josh Heupel quarterback.
Josh Pate here with us in studio. Late Kick Live is where you can watch him on a regular basis. Subscribe to the YouTube channel if you're a college football fan and you don't already know that. I don't know what to do for you. I can't imagine why you'd be hearing that from me for the first time instead of Josh Pate himself, but here we are. With that, your outlook, your projected outlook for the Vols, based on the schedule, based on the talent, based on the portaling or lack of portaling that took place at a very rapid rate throughout the course of the offseason. How do you view the Vols heading into 2024? Because I'm having a hard time getting a read on the fan base, it feels like, at least locally.
I said anonymous for a reason. I don't think people have nailed them down yet. Like, they feel like a team where even the fan base is kind of, we'll see. We'll just see. Well, okay, that's what God made May for, as Meemaw would say. But eventually we get to August, and you guys are going to come down on the side on a prediction here. So the over-under win total is 9.5 right now, which is the same as Bama, LSU, Ole Miss. Like, there's a little group of teams there that's in that 9.5 range. I'll tell you, one of the most underrated games that's going to go a long way in telling us a lot about both teams is, I think, September 21st, Tennessee goes to Oklahoma. Tennessee is Oklahoma's SEC opener. I don't know that they've scheduled it yet, but I think it'll be a night game in Norman. Place will just be absolutely electric, on fire, kind of like when Texas went to Arkansas a few years ago and got buzzsawed. And so if Tennessee can go in there, I think they've got the better team. But that road environment could more than neutralize that aspect. So if they go in there and they win that game, and it's the kind of game where you look at it and you say, boy, they really kind of handled this. It wasn't back and forth until the end, coin flip, like Tennessee kind of handled the game. If they go in there and do that, that's not something that we've seen characteristic of Tennessee so far. So my point there is, that'll be one of the first dominoes to kind of fall in telling us whether they're a good, solid 8-9 win caliber team or a good, solid, like, high seed playoff caliber team. Because I expect them to be a playoff team this year. Like, 12 teams, I look at Tennessee as being one of, let's say, 3 or who knows, maybe 4 SEC teams that are in the running for a playoff spot. But I also think their wide receiver room is probably going to be overlooked nationally, but it's where it needs to be. I think their defense will be as good as they've had there. I think the quarterback has the ceiling well above and beyond what they've had there. And so it's one of those, you got an early season test, but keep watching them, because they are the classic build of a team that slowly starts to scale and peak at the right time. And I keep thinking about this new format where, let's say they lose 2 games, but somehow they get in that playoff. Well, whatever Nico is in December of his first year as a starter is going to be way different than what he is week 1 or week 2. And so, like, that's the kind of, I always equate it to hurricanes or like tropical systems coming through the Caribbean. If they ever make it through the Lesser Antilles, make it over Cuba, they don't get, chopped up with shear, and they get out in the Gulf, that's when they can get their act together. If a team like that with a quarterback like that gets into the playoff, then anything can happen. I would have felt the same way had Jaden Daniels and LSU made it in there last year. They suck defensively, but if they get in, you're talking about an anything can happen type situation.
Who's in a more tenuous spot as a head coach heading into this coming SEC season? Because they're both on the Vols schedule. Billy Napier at Florida or Sam Pittman at Arkansas?
I think it's Pittman.
Why? Because they've already hired the head coach in waiting?
That is an interesting dynamic, isn't it? That is a very interesting dynamic.
I love Bobby Petrino so much.
This is
just always out there lurking, Pate.
It's, if I were to have told you that's the way it's going to go, you would have said, oh, that's impossible a few years ago, which proves nothing is impossible in this sport. The way it would happen with Pittman at Arkansas is if they're not good this year, I don't think he'd be fired. I think they'd have a resolution contractually and he'd just retire. Because I don't think they're going to allow that to be the scene publicly. He is born and bred Arkansas. They love him up there much more than just being a head coach. So I think that's the answer. But let me tell you about Florida. So I went down there last month, and I don't know that I've ever had a program give me the access Florida gave me. Staff meetings, full access, recruiting board for the next 3 years, full access. Like, everything was opened. So we get that at Bama and Georgia too, and Ohio State. So I'm mentioning those 3 because those are winning programs. Those are powerhouses. If I took you with me to those 3, and then I took you down to Florida, but I didn't tell you we were at Florida. I took all the logos off the wall. I just said, hey, Buck, look at this place. Look at the mechanisms. Look at the operation. Just feel it. You would have thought you were at one of those programs, because they've got it together internally. It's a massive operation, but all the characteristics, all the boxes that you check at the major programs and the way they go about their business, they've got it Florida. They don't have the results, though, on the field. So you start talking to the staffers. And Napier, talking to him off the record, then he said the same thing on the record. He said, dude, I feel like I've been living on a construction site for 2 years, in a sense that we kind of underestimated what we were inheriting. And he's not the first coach to say we had a mess on our hands, but they fully believe down there that, like, year 3, judge us. Hardest schedule in the country or not, judge us. Wins and losses now are a fair comparison as opposed to compared to what we're doing. First 2 years, he said, man, we're trying to rebuild the whole thing, but they don't give you a year off. Like, you've got to play the games. And so you could go 7-5 and be a really good team with their schedule this year. They believe in him. Like, administratively, they believe in him. But this stuff is so easy to say in May because your head is screwed on right in May. In September and in October. Yeah, like if you've got 2 losses already or 3 losses before Halloween, are you still thinking that way? Because your fan base isn't. Message boards aren't. Call-in radio shows aren't. And so the other thing down there to keep an eye on is, depending on who you talk to, some people don't think the athletic director is on the firmest of footing. So even if you've got Scott Strickland in your camp, like, is he on safe ground? And so I believe in the guy. There are some out there I think are on borrowed time. Napier may be as well, but I don't think it's because he lacks as a football coach. I think it's because when he initially hit the gas, when he got to Florida, the wheels spun a little bit because he was off in the ditch. I don't think he lacks the ability to make it happen. It didn't happen in year 1 or year 2 for him. And it may not happen this year, but the guy knows how to do it if given enough time.
So what's the biggest misconception as you see it about them as a program right now?
That he's overwhelmed, that he's in over his head, that he's an idiot as it relates, not intelligent wise, but as it relates to how things are done at this level. I am telling you, man, as bluntly as I can, I sit down with all these folks. And a lot of times in off the record, hour-plus long settings. And I'm blessed to have the perspective of being able to compare all of them in my own mind. Napier gets it. He's not taking a back seat in terms of understanding how to build and sustain a winner. It just doesn't happen on the same timeline, program to program. It just doesn't work that way. And so once people get a preconceived notion of you and then your initial results validate in their mind what their notion was, they're never coming off of it. So if you call him G5 Billy, if you think his ceiling is running a G5 program at a high level, you're never coming off that. And I'll tell you this, even if they were to win this year, someone out there would probably say, well, yeah, that's just because they got Mertz to stick around. Let's see what they do without him now. Well, that's part of it. Who in the world out there is winning without a quarterback? That's one of the big things to watch, by the way. There are going to be a lot of close games this year. And they got Mertz to come back, who somehow is already in his sixth year of playing.
I'm just so used to quarterbacks hanging around now after the COVID eligibility that it doesn't even faze me anymore.
How about the Utah kid? 7th year this year. Cam Rising. He's got to be Cam Falling
Cousin Cam.
eventually.
Cousin Cam, baby, from my Utah Utes. It all comes full circle here with Josh Pate at Late Kick Josh is where you can follow him. People are very curious about your T-shirt in the on the YouTube stream. You want to? Is that one of yours?
I saw in the live chat someone said, "So Nico is better than Hendon Hooker." Yeah, Nico's better. Nico has the ability to be better than Hendon Hooker. I got no disrespect for Hendon Hooker. This is Nashville Severe Weather.
Oh, you bought a Nashville Severe Weather shirt.
I support local brands when they're worth supporting, and this is look. This is right up my alley.
Felt like a veiled shot.
I was storm chasing in Oklahoma last week. I wore this. I also wear it to the gym where I'll be in 20 minutes. And I had people in Oklahoma asking me, what is that? We were in Shawnee, El Reno, Oklahoma. I said, don't even worry about it.
Jackson wanted so badly to just talk about storm chasing with you today. He didn't want me to do any college football, even though he's a UT grad and wants to know about his football program.
Well, we got that out of the way. So now, am I sticking around for another segment or is this it?
Do you have another one in you?
Yeah, I got another one in me.
Look at him. Look at you. Look at you back there excited to talk about tornadoes.
Now let's talk about rain-wrapped nocturnal land cyclones, as I like to call them, because that's what I've been dealing with lately.
That's next. Don't you wish that things could just be simple in life, like buying a car? Wouldn't it be great to just know you were getting the best price from the most reputable dealership? That's the case at Two Rivers Ford, and that's how it's been for over 40 years, because they make shopping for a vehicle easy, and it all starts with their non-commissioned sales experts. The sales experts at Two Rivers Ford get paid whether you buy a vehicle or not, so you are never pressured throughout the course of the car buying process. And when it comes to price, Two Rivers Ford sells all their new non-specialty vehicles below MSRP, so you can rest assured that you're getting the best deal. The best price from a locally owned and nationally recognized dealer, plus non-commissioned sales expert. It's no wonder that Two Rivers Ford is the South's most trusted Ford dealer. You can find them in Mount Juliet, just 7 miles east of the airport, or online at tworiversford.com. So Pate decided to stick around for another segment. The bench press bar is grateful for it because we're putting off his gym session.
Oh, my pre-workout hasn't even kicked in yet. I just drank it.
No, I feel like in the next 5 minutes, how often does that stuff take to kick in for you?
It's going to be a good segment.
Okay, so it's going to be a good segment because not only is Josh Pate of Late Kick Live available on the Late Kick Live YouTube channel. You can also subscribe to the podcast wherever you get your podcast. You can also follow him at Late Kick Josh on not just Twitter, but behind the scenes on Instagram for all the great Pate State Speaker Series visits that he's making to Camp I.
Camp I, plural of campus,
Camp
yeah.
Listen, I'm a Pate State freight. I know the lingo. Even the off-season talk, which is what we're getting ready to delve into now, because in your spare time you chase tornadoes, and I thought you were crazy before with how much and how deep you dive into the world of college football, but to know that you are actually chasing storms in your free time makes me just wonder about you generally.
I had a guy last night who I've kind of mentored since he was really, really young. He was on the phone with me last night, so he asks, he works in minor league baseball.
Is that our relationship too?
In a way. in a way. Come to think of it, we were on the phone last night. So this guy works in minor league baseball. He has aspirations of, being a manager one day. So he asked me, hey, how do you maintain motivation and desire and drive when you're financially set? The default should be once you've got a lot of money, don't you just say, all right, I'm going to go kick my feet up somewhere. And I said, well, if you do what you love, that's not a factor. If they're paying you to do what you would do for fun anyway, it's not a factor. So then I explained to him, I said, I had a moment when I was 12 or something where our whatever class it was, our teacher had us write down what our ideal life would be. So I wrote down college football, cover college football for a living, because I was also passionate about storm chasing. And the way I looked at it was I'll work football in the fall, and that frees me up in the spring to go storm chasing, which is exactly what I'm doing right now.
Sicko.
Yes.
The places that you've Jackson wants to conduct this interview more than I will. What questions do you have for Josh about storm chasing?
Number one, how do you even get into storm chasing? Do you just look up where a tornado is and start chasing? How did you get into this?
Well, which one was your first, since we're talking about butt stuff and whatnot today?
Yeah. One question at a time. So in the words of, what's the dude from the new Top Gun movie? Big star, possible affair with Sydney Sweeney, but she says it didn't happen.
Oh, Miles Teller?
No, not that guy.
Who are we talking about?
Glenn Powell.
Glenn Powell. In the words of Glenn Powell in the upcoming Twisters movie trailer, you don't face your fears, you ride them. So that's how I got into storm chasing. But I was a kid that went and saw Twister just like anyone else. The difference is I would go home to Meemaw's house every day after elementary school, and I would watch SportsCenter and the Weather Channel. I knew all my state capitals by kindergarten, by the way, because of the Weather Channel, and won my teacher a bet with her principal because the principal called BS on the kindergarten kid knowing his state capitals. Montpelier, Pierre, I knew all of them. So, I knew Carson City, not Las Vegas.
Flex. I don't think I could name 10.
So, anyway, as I got older, I'll tell you what fascinated me about Twister. So picture this, it's the mid-90s, and those people are riding around with laptop computers in their cars. And that's before I had ever seen a laptop computer. So I pictured storm chasers like a normal kid would picture astronauts. They are working with technology above and beyond what I can comprehend, and they are doing something above and beyond what I can comprehend. Okay, so when I finally got old enough, I started very amateur versions of storm chasing, which is just me and myself. Now, I was smart enough to go build a massive college football platform, which means a lot of people watch you, which inevitably means there is at least someone in any walk of life that's watching you. I just put out the call to action a couple of years ago. Hey, I'm into storm chasing. If you are, hit me up. All these storm chasing teams from the Midwest started hitting me up. And I essentially had my pick. Kind of like we're doing with gas stations right now. I essentially had my pick of the team that I wanted to join. So I joined a dude named Frankie, dude named Zach out of Northwest Arkansas, and they work with Severe Studios. They work with Ryan Hall, big names in the storm chasing community. And so, dude, the technology that we're equipped with when we're riding around, we've got 2 different onboard radar products. We've got 2 different nav products, and that's not even to mention all the things you have on your cell phone. We are getting so close to these things, into inflow notches, into dry slots, confident enough in the technology to where even at night, you can place yourself just outside of outer circulation of these things. We were in Sulphur, Oklahoma earlier this month. Town got destroyed. So we're in Sulphur. We know we're in the path. So we get out of Sulphur right before it gets destroyed. And of course, then you come back in and you see horrible stuff. But yeah, we've been out there multiple times. I think we're probably going to have one more round coming up, not next week, but week after, where we'll be out there again. But that's how I got into it. I'm just fascinated by atmospheric science. And tornadoes, to me, are the most exciting, terrifying part of atmospheric science.
Closest call you've had?
Beauregard, Alabama, March 3rd, 2019. That was an EF4 tornado that killed 23 people. And so we were in direct path of that. And it was very rain-wrapped, high precipitation supercell. We can't see anything. And we are not on the southern flank where you want to be. We're in the northern flank, which is called core punching, which you don't want to do. That's hail core, that's rain core. You don't want to do that.
All of the things.
Yes, we had to bail. And we came back in behind it because it's moving southwest to northeast, and we're on the north side of it. So we come in behind it. Never seen destruction like that because I've never seen an EF5 tornado. So this was bordering on EF5, and it went through Beauregard, Alabama, eventually crosses the Chattahoochee and gets into northern Columbus, southern Harris County. So I got a twofold problem. Number one, we've got fatalities around us. So you switch into search and rescue mode while trying to stay out of the way of actual search and rescue. But also, that's making a beeline for where my parents live. My parents live right on a north-south interstate thoroughfare. So I've always coached them. If I give you enough lead time, I actually don't want you taking shelter. If I'm calling you, it's because you're dealing with a major tornado. I actually want you to get on the interstate, and I can move you north-south. So a couple of weeks ago, this tornado comes through just south of Spring Hill in Maury County down here. I had to do the same thing with management. Management's family, I give them an hour, a little over an hour's lead time.
Really?
Get them on 65, had them go up to Franklin, and sure enough, that thing crosses 65 about 3 miles south of their house. And I just went and surveyed that the other day. That's like legit EF3 damage. So what's going on in spring in my life?
I mean, that's terrifying, but like the awesome power to witness that in real time, because for most people the exposure is Twister, and I know they're getting ready to make the new Twister. By the way, I think we should rope Pate into going to see that like with us as a show.
I'm scared, not of the movie. I'm scared that I'm not going to like it. I am a child that grew up loving the movie Dumb and Dumber.
Sure.
And then you remember when the prequel came out, Dumb and Dumberer. Good name. Terrible movie. And ever since then, I've been so jaded in building up these sequels or prequels to movies I grew up, almost deifying as a child.
Now, clearly this has impacted a lot of your life.
I'm worried about it. I have no fingernails because I've chewed them to the nubs, worrying about whether or not Twisters is going to live up to the lofty billing that it is in advance of it.
Well, it sucks that we've run out of
It sucks.
ideas.
I get it. Storm chasing humor. Oh, you didn't even think that through, did you? Stick with the butt stuff.
Oh, this has been productive as always. No, what sucks is that we've run out of original ideas to make movies, so it's just gone back to remaking old movies, old classics, and I guess this is probably a generational thing. I'm just at the point in my life where we're starting to cycle through my favorite movies growing up, and Twister is one of them.
But you know what's crazy? We've been doing that. We've been remaking movies for lack of better ideas. How it took this long for Twister is crazy. It was one of the top 10 grossing movies of the decade, and I'm of the opinion the 90s were the best decade in the history of this country, by the way, which we can talk about next time I come in.
I was born in the 90s. I'll take that.
It's, what year?
93.
93. Braves, Phillies, NLCS. Yeah, it's a good year. It's a really good year.
Except for the one thing.
Well, look, tomato, okay? We can hack up any year if we dive into it deep enough.
Josh Pate, I don't know how much storm chasing. There's quite a bit of storm chasing talk on Late Kick Live, but there's more college football about the world of college football. And the Pate State speaker series is going to continue with multiple campi still ahead. No off season for the Late Kick Live show. It's why you got to check out all 3 episodes, the 2 live episodes and the 1 Late Kick extra pod that he does on a regular basis to keep you updated on the latest in the world of college football. We actually talked all college football today other than some storm chasing.
This was good for me. I hope it was good for you.
It was good for me, It started out a little rough. There were some indiscretions, but just like anything, we work through it.
Tell Lucas I said hey when you see him.
I sure won't. That's Josh Pate. I'm Buck Rising. It's 104.5 The Zone.
It is 12:01. Good afternoon from the 104.5 The Zone Studios. I'm Jackson Williams. In NFL news, Netflix has announced that it will be the exclusive home to the NFL's Christmas Day slate of games for the next 3 seasons. One game is reported to be the Kansas City Chiefs and the Pittsburgh Steelers. Full schedule release takes place tonight at 7 p.m. The Tennessee Vols baseball team wrapped up its midweek schedule as they defeated Belmont 10-0. Tennessee hosts South Carolina this weekend in Knoxville for its final SEC regular season series. And in the NBA playoffs, the Knicks beat down the Indiana Pacers 121-91, and the Nuggets took down the Minnesota Timberwolves 112-97. The Knicks and the Nuggets each take a 3-2 series lead, respectively. For all your foundation repair and waterproofing needs, you need to visit USSTN.com. Breaking news at once on your home for the Titans and Vols. This is 104.5 The Zone.
It's schedule release day in the NFL. You have only a few short hours to wait before you find out exactly who the Titans are going to play. Well, you know that already, but where exactly and when exactly the Titans are going to play them. 7 p.m., the schedule release time. We'll have a live stream reaction show. No on-air programming for the Titans 2024 schedule release because we have soccer tonight. Nashville SC playing who?
Toronto.
Is that a home game?
Home game. 90s night at Geodis Park.
Okay, so for those of you who are out at Geodis Park, you can enjoy some Nashville SC. You can listen to that here on the station, and I will simulcast the primetime show on the A to Z Sports Network to the Zone's digital platform, so YouTube, Twitter, Facebook, all of it. We'll have a live reaction show to the schedule digitally, while on air there will be soccer for you to consume as well. So you got a couple of different options there for you. We're going to predict the schedule, not win-loss, because, we don't know where they're going to play or when they're going to play just yet. Just exactly. So I would like to go through week by week. Jackson and I have put together what we think the schedule will look like for the 2024 Tennessee Titans. And as far as predictions go, be curious to know how many primetime games you think this team is going to get in the upcoming season. 615-737-1045 is how you can give us your schedule predictions if you're so inclined. Primetime games, opponents on various weeks, holiday predictions, because you see that Netflix is going to have some Christmas Day broadcasts. The Lions are on the Titans' schedule, so I've seen some Thanksgiving rumblings around there. I don't know if I'm going to predict the Titans to play a Thanksgiving game or not just yet, but we're going to work our way from weeks 1 to 18 here in just a second. The question, though, the biggest question, is whether or not the Titans will be able to top their schedule release video from a year ago. They did 2. I don't know how many teams did 2 schedule release videos, and I never really got a straight answer from anybody with the organization about why the hell are there 2 schedule release videos. And I'm going to recklessly speculate. Do you have Blaine Bishop's breaking news noise for the reckless speculation? That's how we signal reckless speculation around here. I'm going to recklessly speculate that somebody, some suit in the Titans organization, put together an expensed or put together the expense for a very well-produced schedule release video that they did at Robert's Western World on Broadway last year with a bunch of celebrities like Jeff Fisher, like Jelly Roll. Coach Mack was involved, a bunch of people all involved for the schedule release video at a Broadway bar. That was cool to see. Delaney Walker also involved. I think Jeff was the bouncer at Roberts for the schedule release video last year. So all of it very high level, very high profile, and all of it undone by, the $20 TikTok mic that they bought and a couple of promo people that they sent out to go interview drunks on Broadway about the logos on the Titans schedule to announce the release. The TikTok one was way better than the highly produced one, and I'm sure some suit in the Titans corporate office said, no, we paid all this money for this one, we're going to run it, and only for the other one to win an Emmy. So I don't know that that's how it went down. That's how it went down in my head. This is last year's Emmy Award-winning Titans schedule release video.
What the is that? St. Boston Bobcats. No idea.
Cowboys, yeah. Baltimore Orioles.
This one is the Red Stallions.
All right, so it goes on at some length. It goes on at some length. The Red Stallions, of course, the Atlanta Falcons. Somebody said the Cleveland Browns logo is just the NFL football logo, which made me laugh. And it crushed. It was viral everywhere. It won an Emmy for the Titans social media team last year. So congratulations to them. Now they have to figure out if they can top it. Was the Jags logo the Boston Bobcats? Is that what they had? Is that right? Who was the Boston Bobcats?
That would have been the Bengals.
Oh, the Bengals are the Boston Bobcats. Excellent. So we're going to predict the schedule for the Tennessee Titans, and we're going to start, let's go week by week at this point. I'll go first. Jackson will go for the week 1 opponents, and we'll go all the way through week 18. Week 1, the Tennessee Titans are going to open up at home. Last year it was a road game. With the Cincinnati Bengals. I think they're going to like the storylines of week 1 of the Bengals and now head coach Brian Callahan facing his former team, Tyler Boyd facing his former team. I think that Bengals and Titans has some juice to it. Titans fans are a bit triggered by it, which is why you would put it in Nashville, because that's where the Titans fans have suffered the most amount of trauma at the hands of the Bengals, is at home, except for last year where they kicked the snot out of the Bengals and Joe Burrow on one good calf. But still, I think Bengals and Titans is how the season should begin based on the home and away opponents that I've seen so far. The Bengals are one of the home opponents.
So, for mine, I'm going a little random with this one.
Okay.
I'm gonna say the Titans get the first shot at Caleb Williams. Titans at Bears, week 1 on the NFL schedule.
Well, here's why I'll push back at that. You don't get the draft music for yours?
No, I just wanted to interrupt you. That was just a one-time thing.
Well, that's annoying. So you think that the NFL would not put Caleb Williams in a primetime window to start?
I don't think so. I think there's other games that will take precedent over the Bears.
You think that you think so? Because it seems like a terrible missed opportunity to not put the Bears. Now, I'm nitpicking, of course. I'm just kind of curious about your logic.
I feel like we already have all of our primetime games covered. They've already been released.
Well, not all of the primetime games.
Not like all of them, but for week 1, most of them.
For week 1, a lot of them are out there. I just think it's a missed opportunity to not have the Bears open up against an NFC North opponent with Caleb Williams in his first game. But maybe so. So you think the Titans will open in Chicago or at home?
In Chicago.
In Chicago. Oh, well, I'd prefer that. I'd love to go to Chicago at the beginning of September instead of, mid-November. That sounds infinitely better.
Okay, so Thursday night, Monday night are already spoken for.
Thursday night is the season opener with the Ravens and the Chiefs. Monday night is whom?
Jets and 49ers.
Jets and 49ers on ESPN. So there's no doubleheader this year, or they just haven't announced the doubleheader this year?
They either have not announced doubleheader, but so Adam Schefter tweeted this out yesterday. Thursday night opener, Ravens and Chiefs. Friday night in Brazil, Packers and Eagles. Sunday, 4:25, Cowboys at Browns. Monday night football, Jets and 49ers. Week 2, Thursday night football, Bills and Dolphins.
Okay. Week 2, I have the Titans on the road, and I have the Titans opening up their road schedule with not the first overall pick, but the second overall pick, Jaden Daniels and the Washington Commanders. That feels like a cherry week 2 noon slate. Get it off my screen. Washington Titans game.
The C team is in the building at they still, what's it called now?
Oh, the stadium?
Yes.
No, it's still FedEx Field.
Oh, I thought they pulled the name.
Oh, I think they were working on it while Dan Snyder was still the owner. I don't know. I haven't kept up. I'll be honest. I haven't kept up with the latest on the naming rights for the Command Skins football team stadium, but I believe it's still FedEx Field. But anyway,
Commanders Field.
It's Commanders Field?
Yes.
So there's no naming rights right now?
Yes.
Interesting. Okay, either way, Titans and Commies on the road, week 2.
Mine?
Yes, that's how this works.
Titans home opener. They have the New York Jets at home. They get Aaron Rodgers or Tyrod Taylor at home.
That's not nice to do to Aaron Rodgers. You don't even think he makes it through the first game?
He didn't last year.
Well, that's a little different. There's a lot of, because I see a lot of pushback in the online chat on Facebook, YouTube, Twitter, and Twitch about, well, isn't Jags Titans opener and it's at Nissan Stadium? Well, we've seen rumors. We haven't seen reported and confirmed leaks just yet. So I would caution you to not get caught up in the fake news of it. It could well be the case, but that has not been confirmed, reported, or verified by anybody just yet. So you have in week 2, the Titans opening up at Nissan Stadium in the middle of a construction zone with Aaron Rodgers and the New York Jets.
Yes.
Okay. Week 3, I have the Titans back-to-back away games to close out the month of September. I have the Titans on the road against the LA Chargers.
I like that.
I'd rather have LA later. Again, bias just based on travel and scenery.
I'm surprised you didn't do this on bias, because mine is pretty things I would like to see.
Well, there's a difference between me trying to predict the schedule the way that the NFL would predict it and picking the schedule that I want just based on me wanting to go to Los Angeles in December as opposed to September.
That's fair.
I got the Chargers on the schedule, week 3 away.
My week 3 is your week 2. Titans at Commanders, CBS, noon game, week 3. Jaden Daniels, Will Levis, CBS C team. Give it to us. There's a lot of Jackson people are accusing you of cheating because the first 2 games have already leaked. Again, these are not verified. These are not verified reporting of the leaks, unless there is verified reporting that I haven't seen. There's no verified reporting. I threw a couple.
Where are people getting leaks this year? Because there are people tipping games, but there's not any verified leaks that I've trusted.
I'm leaning into the fake news a little on this schedule, but not fully. I did see the Jets one. I did not see the Bears one.
I've got the Titans back. Wait, you did week 3 already? I've got the Titans back home, so we'll do the first month of the schedule, and then we'll vet this thing out even further. I've got the Titans at home for their first AFC South game in the month of October. I've got them hosting the Houston Texans in another Oilers uniform game.
Ooh, so you're doing alternate uniforms. Well, I need to, during the break, I'll be picking my Oilers games for the season.
Well, it feels like you have to wear the Oilers unis against the Texans at some point in the season now that they're allowed. It just feels like a wasted opportunity against another team, unless you're going to do like an AFL
especially
thing.
With like the Texans owners doing radio interviews and things like that. I feel
especially with the Texans doing dumb bleep. So yeah, home for the Texans, first AFC South game. Arguably the biggest home game on the Titans schedule this year, even though I'm just out of morbid curiosity looking at that Jets game like something that I'm more interested in than the other home games. Although Bengals Titans has even more juice now than it did when the Bengals and Titans have been going back and forth in the postseason and the regular season the past couple of years. It feels like the Bengals and the Titans have played a lot.
They played every year since 2020.
They went on a run with the Bills like that too.
The Bills are back this year.
Bills are back on the schedule this year. So we'll keep predicting the Titans schedule coming up next. Jackson doesn't have his week 4 yet, so we'll find out on the other side. Welcome back to the show. We are fueled by Hattie B's Hot Chicken. The lunch hour is upon us. If you're thinking hot chicken, think Hattie B's. Whether you're out on the road, you can check out one of their several Middle Tennessee locations. You can also download their app and mobile order Hattie B's straight to your home, your office, wherever you might be in the Middle Tennessee area. We've been predicting the Titans' schedule, and I've gone through the first 4 weeks. Home Bengals, away Washington. Again, we're not reporting any of this. We're just having fun guessing what the Titans' schedule is going to look like tonight. Reckless speculation at best, which is all that the Titans' schedule leaks on Twitter amount to. Reckless speculation at best, and more often than not, you're going to get told by one of those NFL rumors accounts that, I don't know anything. I was just guessing. Gotcha. Thanks for the followers, like last year.
Thanks for the 50,000 followers, you idiots.
You idiots. Anyway, so Bengals home, 2 away games, Washington and the Chargers. Home for the Texans is the first 4 weeks of the Titans schedule that I have picked. Jackson, who are the Titans playing and where in week 4 on your prediction?
I also have them in their first AFC South game. It is on the road. It is in Indianapolis, and it's at the Colts.
Okay. Week 5, I have them on the road again against the Miami Dolphins, the place where they pulled off a bit of a miracle last year. Many Dolphins fans left the stadium thinking that their team had won the game. Many Dolphins fans who were too drunk at the stadium don't remember their team losing the game. Many of you turned off the television thinking that the Titans lost that game with 3 minutes left before they scored 2 touchdowns and pulled off the closest thing to a miracle that they had at any point in that season, or could be described as a miracle in a season that was basically lost. So back to Miami in week 5 against the Aaron Brewer revenge game. The Aaron Brewer.
David Long revenge game.
Well, he tried that last year, and then that blew up in his face pretty famously.
David Long redemption revenge game?
Redemption revenge game. Okay, very good. So yes, away in Miami, week 5.
My week 5, I got them. The Vikings at home, the game I'm most excited for. Justin Jefferson comes to town. J.J. McCarthy. Going to be a really interesting matchup for the Titans. So, Vikings come to town in week 5.
Week 6, I've got the first of 2 home games on the Titans schedule, hosting the Colts. You got swept by them last year. You got Zaire Franklin talking smack about them this year and saying that the only real test, I'm paraphrasing, but Zaire Franklin, the Colts linebacker, basically saying it's really just about Houston in the AFC South right now, when the AFC South looks as competitive as it ever has, or at least as it has in the last, for the better part of a decade. I would say this is the most competitive the AFC South has been top to bottom. So I have them at home against the Colts, and then another home game hosting the Green Bay Packers in week 6 and 7. What are your week 6 and 7 games?
So week 6 and 7, week 6, the Titans have their first primetime game of the season. Thursday Night Football in Jacksonville. It's back.
They haven't had a Thursday night game against the Jags in a while.
I know. The NFL's just itching to put one back on the schedule. They do in week 6 in my schedule. Week 7, the Titans get lucky and they get an extended bye after a Thursday Night Football game. They have a bye in week 7, an extended rest. So Titans go to Jacksonville in week 6 on Thursday Night Football, week 7 bye week.
Oh, I don't think they do that. To have a Thursday night game and then a bye week?
It's my schedule, my rules.
Okay, that's fine. I just don't think your rules are applicable to this particular exercise. What is that laugh?
It's my evil laugh, my schedule-making laugh.
just sitting back there rubbing your hands together, crafting a fake schedule?
Absolutely. I've got Oilers uniforms in here, primetime games, lots of fun things for Titans fans.
Okay. I've got them on a bye week 8. I've got them away in week 9. I think week 9 is Thanksgiving. I have them on Thanksgiving in Detroit against the Lions. Their first Thursday night football game since 2008. I think that makes the most sense if the Lions are on the schedule and the Lions are away. The Lions always play on Thanksgiving. There's been some conversation around the Lions on Thanksgiving. I'm not sure whether it's week 9 or 8 on how the schedule will fall by dates this year, but I have a bye in week 8 and the Lions, Titans in Detroit on Thanksgiving Day.
So now the Titans in my schedule are coming off a very extended rest. They're relaxed. They are putting on the Oilers jerseys. We're going to have one of the best uniform matchups in the NFL. The Patriots are going to wear their throwbacks. The Titans are going to wear their throwbacks in Nissan Stadium in week 8. And in week 9, I also have them playing on Thanksgiving, but they are at the Chargers.
So that's 2 nationally televised games for me so far. 2 technically primetime games. No, actually, 1 primetime game for me. The
2
Lions, you have 2. I have 1. The Lions on Thanksgiving, I think, is going to take the place of Thursday Night Football this year. And again, I don't have any inside information on that. I'm not reporting anything. It's just speculation. I think if they can use the Thursday night, I bet Amazon honestly would rather have the Titans on Thanksgiving than have them on Thursday Night Prime because they want more subscribers, and the Titans aren't going to help them build that subscriber base that way. They want good games on Thursday Night Football. Titans-Lions could be a frisky game. It's an interesting game, but I bet that's looked at as a bit lopsided in terms of the interest level. Week 10. What?
I think it's going to be interesting. Lions-Titans. I feel like they always have pretty crazy games when they play, other than when the Lions were really bad.
Week 10, I've got the Titans back at home, and I've got them hosting the New England Patriots, the team that they continue to steal wide receivers from, not just DeAndre Hopkins, but now Calvin Ridley. A little bit of a different look because there will be no Vrabel Patriots ties to this particular game, but I think that there is some level of intrigue to the Pats and the Titans, certainly here at Nissan Stadium. The last time the Patriots played at Nissan Stadium, wasn't that the game they kicked Brady's ass in? Vrabel's first year?
Yeah, would have been 18.
Yeah. The David Fluellen game.
David Fluellen legacy game.
So Patriots at home in Week 10.
Week 10, I have the Colts coming to town for an AFC South matchup.
And in Week 11?
Week 11, I have them going to the Bills. I think this is going to be a noon kick. Maybe the B team, maybe the Bills give them the B team, but yeah, going to be a tough one.
I'm going to put the Titans away in Indianapolis in Week 11, and then Week 12, I'm going to have them away in Houston. Back-to-back AFC South road games. Who's your Week 12 opponent?
Week 12 is the Bengals, and it's my last primetime game. I'm going to say this game goes Monday night.
Monday night, Bengals-Titans.
Bengals-Titans, Monday Night Football. Titans' only home primetime game this season. First in 2 seasons.
They haven't had a home primetime game in 2 seasons?
Well, they didn't have one last year.
Right.
Did they have one the year before? Yes, the Cowboys on Thursday night.
Mm-hmm. But that was, of course, the Josh Dobbs game, and it was pretty lightly attended and mostly by Cowboys fans. Week 13, Titans back at home after a 2-game road stretch. Again, I have to probably reiterate this because it is schedule release day. We're not leaking the schedule. We're just predicting the schedule. And if you want to jump in, 615-737-1045 is the number to do so. Got the Titans back home for the New York Jets late in the season. I don't know if Todd Downing is going to be coaching in Week 13. I don't know if Aaron Rodgers is going to be playing in Week 13, but I know the Jets are coming to town. Well, I don't know the Jets are coming to town in Week 13, but I predict the Jets to come to town in Week 13 as a noon game. Just get it out of our systems, get it out of our lives, get the Jets off the screen, and a home game for the Titans against New York. I'd be curious to see how many Jets fans make that trip. Are the Jets going to be a good team this year?
You'll find out by how many Jets fans are in the stadium in your Week 13.
They are just, I mean, the Jets are the most tortured fan base in football, right?
Oh,
especially coming off last year.
My Week 13, I'll do Week 13 and 14. At the Texans in Week 13, host the Jags in Week 14, back-to-back AFC South matchups.
That's where you're putting your AFC South games. I'm going to put Chicago late in the year, and I'm going to put them away in Week 14 for the Bears. I'm hoping that it's not that late this season in Chicago because I would rather not be in Chicago in November and December. On a personal level, from a competitive standpoint level, Levis out in the elements in an NFC North environment, the only true NFC North environment that they'll play in this year because Green Bay is, of course, coming here and Detroit is in a dome. I think Week 14 away for the Bears, and then Week 15 home. I'm going to say the Vikings in Week 15. I was undecided. I didn't want to get the AFC South teams off the schedule too early, and I've already burned a couple of AFC South teams. And lately, the Titans have had these weird, not back-to-back, but 2 games against the same team over the course of 3 NFL weeks. And I feel like that's going to happen with the Jags this year. So I'm going to put the Minnesota Vikings at home against the Titans in Week 15.
Mine, I have the Packers at home in Week 15, and then the Dolphins on the road in Week 16.
Home for the Jags in Week 16 is how I'm going to wrap up the final month of their season. And then their final away game of 2024, I'm going to have them against the Bills in Buffalo. Again, I don't want to go to Buffalo in December and January, but Buffalo for Thursday night football is the last primetime game that I think they're going to get. Or excuse me, Monday night football in Buffalo is the last prime. I've got them for 2 primetime games this year, Thanksgiving against the Lions and Monday night football against the Bills.
What week are we on? 17?
Mm-hmm.
So I've got them at the Lions in Week 17. And then the Texans at home for the Oilers game to close the regular season out in Week 18.
Week 18 away against the Jags. Finishing against an AFC South opponent, finishing on the road after beating the Jags at home. Last year, Jacksonville looking for revenge the way that they got it in, 2022? Where the Jags kept the Titans out of the playoffs and won the AFC South on the fumble/incomplete pass that was called on Josh Dobbs.
Yes, that was 2022.
If you heard a weird noise, it was because I was scared I was going to sneeze into the microphone. I got very nervous there. It's never happened to me before.
You've never sneezed into the microphone?
I've sneezed on Primetime Live, but never on the radio show. What's the trick to keep yourself from sneezing? Is it a tongue on the roof of your mouth?
I just turn my mic off and sneeze.
That would be more productive. JR is saying by Week 13, when the Titans are home against the Jets, or at least the way that I've predicted, saying Todd Downing made head coach of the Jets by Week 13.
Interim head coach Todd Downing in Nissan Stadium, that would be cinema.
I would be very, very surprised. So, my schedule: home Bengals, away Washington, away Chargers, home Texans, away Dolphins, home Colts, home Packers, Week 8 bye. Lions away on Thanksgiving, home for the Patriots, away in Indianapolis, away in Houston, Jets at home, Bears on the road, Vikings and Jags at home, Monday Night Football against the Bills, and the Jags in Week 18 away.
Mine is at the Bears, home against the Jets, at the Commanders, at the Colts, Vikings at home, at Jags on Thursday Night Football, bye week in Week 7, Patriots in the Oilers uniforms, Colts at Chargers on Thanksgiving, then the Colts, at the Bills, Bengals on Monday Night Football, at the Texans, Jags at home, Packers at home, at the Dolphins, at the Lions, Texans at home.
What do you want to bet?
You have to wear a football helmet for the first segment tomorrow.
Wear a football helmet for the first segment tomorrow?
We can do first hour if you don't think that's enough.
Do you have a football helmet? I have
do.
a football helmet at home I can wear.
Well, you can pick. You can wear mine, you can wear yours.
Well, I'd rather wear mine.
Okay, so I'd rather you wear mine, so you'll wear mine. And if I lose, I'll wear yours.
All right, fine. Loser, whoever gets the most games right on the schedule, loser wears a football helmet for the first segment of the show tomorrow. I think it should be for the whole show. I think a segment is a bit of
I think it's going to hurt your head, so that's why I'm giving you an hour.
Yeah, but if I get a headache and I'm pissed by the end of the show, it's probably going to turn into better content. Also, imagine something like serious or important happening in breaking news looking like, like I need to be in some kind of mattress enclosed room with a helmet on my head running around because the Titans have driven me insane. Like if we have some kind of great breaking news or big breaking news story tomorrow and I have to do it with an NFL helmet on my head, like it's not an NFL helmet. Although Zenith isn't it. I think they still wear Zeniths at the NFL level. I don't know.
They still wear shut?
I actually don't think so.
Oh, so
615-737-1045 is the number if you want to jump in. Last call for phone calls if you've got them coming up next. So we'll make a bet on the Titans schedule, predicting it there for you guys to keep tabs on, and that's a pretty easy bet for either one of us to pay off. the rest of it tonight, I don't know whether you should look at the amount of primetime games that you ultimately get awarded this evening or as a part of the schedule as any kind of an indictment on the interest level in your team. Now, more primetime games, more interest level, bigger audiences, bigger fan bases. That's basically, not that it's it is super scientific the way that they construct the schedule every year. But yeah, that's not the most scientific thing in the world. You want the best teams on the biggest platforms the most amount of times to attract the biggest number for the television networks and for the people who advertise on the television networks. And the Titans are probably not going to be a big part of that equation. I went to one of them Thanksgiving and a Monday night football game. You're going Thursday night and Monday night?
And Thanksgiving.
3. How many did they have last year?
They had London, Thursday night, and Monday night.
So 3. And the London game technically has to count, even though it's on at, 8:30 in the morning local time?
Yeah, it was 8:30.
Brutal. So we'll see what happens and how much interest there is in what the Titans are going to be in 2024. I would think that relative to the other AFC teams, it'd be pretty low, but, there's nothing wrong with proving people wrong from time to time. If you're a Titans fan who thinks your team has been slighted. We'll have it all to talk about tonight at 7 p.m. Central Time. In fact, we'll be on the air at 6:50 Central Time with the live stream reaction show to the schedule release on the A to Z Sports Network, and it will be simulcast on 104.5 The Zone's streaming platforms as well, because we'll have soccer on the radio with Will and Jackson. Who else is doing the call since Lucas is in Italy?
Find out, listen in tonight.
Okay, very good. That's a tease. Last call for phone calls. Like I said, get you over to Blaine and Mickey coming up next. Welcome back to the show. Last call for phone calls if you got them. Schedule release taking place tonight. A lot of good sports stuff happening tonight. We got games in the NBA playoffs. Have you watched more NBA or NHL in the postseason so far?
I would say it's pretty even. I haven't watched much NHL since the Preds were eliminated.
I'm the same way about the hockey, but I feel like the better games are in the NHL. Like I always wake up the next day to see some ridiculous outcome in the NHL or some overtime game that I've missed out on because I've been watching more basketball. And a lot of the basketball like the games themselves have been not very competitive. Whether it's the Knicks blowing out the Pacers as they did last night en route to taking a lead in that series, and watching the way that the Celtics have just kind of rolled the Cavs. They've got their Game 5 tonight. 2 Game 5s in the NBA tonight. The first is the Cavs at the Celtics. The second, the series that's even at 2 games apiece, the Mavericks and OKC, the late tip on TNT. Soccer, Nashville SC, like Jackson said, you've got that going on this evening as well as the NFL schedule release, so it's a very, very busy time in the sports calendar.
And tonight in the NHL, you have the Avalanche and the Stars. That series, Game 5, series not tied. Dallas leads that series 3-1.
Dallas is just wrecking them in Colorado. I watched a little bit of that Game 4 earlier. Stars favored again tonight at home in Dallas on Game 5. So be curious to see what comes of that particular playoff series. You have a rooting interest since your boy LeBron is not playing but just drinking whole bottles of wine on the sidelines of games?
No, I don't have a rooting interest. I do like watching Jalen Brunson play basketball, though. And I know you're a Pacers fan, so it makes me laugh a little bit when he goes off for 40.
Thank you. Just to know that you take great joy from my sports suffering.
You so rarely show it that watching it just get crushed is very enjoyable.
Well, see, the Pacers don't hurt me like IU does. Pacers don't hurt me nearly as badly as IU does. Because the height of my Pacers fandom was while I was in college watching the Big Three for the Heat against the Paul George, Lance Stevenson, Roy Hibbert Pacers when they were going back and forth in the East. That was really kind of the peak of it for me. And then, they haven't been very good in the last couple of years. They've been significantly better as of late. But I'm probably going to watch more Fever games of the regular season this year than I did Pacers games.
Did you watch last night?
I watched a little bit of last night. Caitlin Clark's WNBA debut. Did you watch much of it?
I didn't watch a ton, but I saw a lot of highlights on Twitter.
Yeah, it was mostly highlights for me. I didn't honestly, I did not seek it out after prime time, and then I realized that it was going on. It was a lot of the coverage today. I'd be curious to see how many teams in the WNBA try to get bigger venues to play in, because a sellout in the WNBA is like under 10,000, I think, at most of these places. They're going to have a bigger demand for that just to see Caitlin Clark.
Oh, yeah.
People are already selling out these Fever games.
And you think, Caitlin Clark versus Angel Reese, that could be moved. I'm not sure where the Chicago WNBA team plays.
Where?
Yeah, do they play in the United Center?
Oh, no, I'm not. I would think the United Center, but I don't know that for sure. See, there's so many people who are going to be ignorant to what goes on in the WNBA who are just now going to start paying attention. But the Chicago plays tonight, as a matter of fact, against the Dallas WNBA team, whose logo I'm not familiar with. I'm learning a lot about WNBA since Caitlin Clark and all these stars from the college game have entered the league. But Indiana lost last night in Caitlin Clark's debut, 92-71. Some people in the comment section on the Pacers and the Knicks saying the Pacers have no answer for Jalen Brunson. Yeah, Jalen Brunson's been a really, really good player. It's funny to see him against Rick Carlisle in particular, because famously Rick Carlisle didn't think much of Jalen Brunson coming out of Villanova when they drafted him.
So the Sky play at Wintrust Arena seats just a little bit over 10,000.
Yeah, I would think they're going to need more than 10,000 seats for Caitlin Clark and Angel Reese.
Yeah, it's going to be insane.
What's the closest WNBA team to us?
Probably be the Fever, wouldn't it?
Yeah, I don't think I'm going to go all the way to Indy for a WNBA game, but if there was a game closer, I might consider it. Either way, polls, please. Lucas isn't here. Jackson is doing the polls. But we have had signs of life. Lucas sent me a text of him and Megan drinking wine on an Italian rooftop somewhere. So very disappointing that we're here shouldering the load and he's off gallivanting across Italy.
I'm sure Lucas is having a great time. These are the polls. They're presented by Two Rivers Ford, the South's most trusted Ford dealer. What is the dumbest thing in sports this week? Karen says Tom Brady having regrets about the roast due to the effects on his kids. What did you think was going to happen?
I don't know. He got paid a lot of money. And it's not like Tom Brady needs the money. How much was the Brady payday on the roast? I think it was like $25 million.
Yeah, I believe it was $25 million.
So if they're going to pay you $25 million just to sit there and take some jokes that are already being made on the internet anyway, I guess. But just seeing your dad sit there and take jokes about mom, having bruises on her butt from the from the affair with the jiu-jitsu coach and all this kind of stuff. I get both sides. I'm not mad at Tom for taking the $25 million just to get roasted. I'm also not mad at him for saying after the fact, yeah, it's kind of tough. I probably won't do that again since my kids are, his kids are teenagers now, right? They're seeing all that stuff.
Yeah, and also, are they going to roast him again? I feel like this is an easy, nobody gets a second roast.
Yeah, the dumbest thing is probably Tom Brady acting like he's going to get a second roast.
Yeah, what are the jokes going to be about his broadcasting career?
If it goes as badly as Jason Witten's did.
Tough scene. All right, how many primetime games will the Titans have in 2024? A lot of answers that are 2, some 0, 1 on a Thursday night, just a lot of different answers.
I have
1 to 3.
I have them at 2. Thursday, the Thanksgiving game at the Lions, and then I have a Monday night football game late in the year in Buffalo.
I had 3, 2 away, 1 at home. What was your initial reaction to the NFL's Netflix deal? A lot of people saying they already have Netflix, so this doesn't really affect them as much as Peacock or Amazon Prime. I feel like most people have Netflix. If you have a streaming service, Netflix is in there.
Yeah. So that was news to start the day. The Netflix, the NFL. What am I trying to say? The Netflix. Put on the Netflix, honey. Yeah.
Put on the Netflix, honey. They're roasting Tom Brady.
So Netflix is going to air 2 games on Christmas Day this coming season, and at least 1 game on Christmas Day for each of the next 2 years, which was an announcement that was made this morning by the streaming company. So I bet you're right. Most people, having to seek out Peacock or Paramount Plus, where else are there exclusively streamed games right now? Amazon Prime, that might be the list. I don't think the NFL hasn't done an exclusively streamed ESPN Plus game, have they?
Or Paramount Plus.
They haven't done Paramount.
No, Paramount or ESPN have not been done.
So it's just Peacock and Amazon.
Yes.
And now Netflix.
They've done alternate streams exclusively. The London game wasn't it a Disney stream, a Toy Story stream in London?
They did, it was either it was Toy Story that they did. And then the Super Bowl was on Nickelodeon, if I remember correctly. Either way, most people probably having less of a lift to get football on Netflix than to download or subscribe to or add another streaming service when you're already throwing your hands up in the air and saying, I have NBC. Why can't I just watch it on NBC? Well, you don't have Peacock, which is what NBC is trying to get off the ground, which is why the games are there.
Those are the polls.
Excellent. That's the show. Football Fred says, will the NFL Network still have all games? I don't know. I don't know the answer to that question. We'll find out tonight. We'll see how many games the NFL Network has. When the schedule comes out, 7 p.m., I'll be live streaming. We'll talk about the Titans schedule then on A to Z Sports. Blaine and Mickey got you coming up next.